Yeah, okay, I'm just gonna, everybody pretend like that didn't happen. So let's make her drink some water. So we're putting a lot of, did I show that yesterday? Yeah, I did. Okay. So we're putting a lot of animations in. I'll see if I can find a can of beans. This is the same thing I did. I'll check that out. A floating ready. Let's explain that one. Magic. Where are we? Can of beans. I think I showed that yesterday as well. So we got Little Fiend making the return and all that kind of stuff. So I talked to a couple of the streamers and the guy who mostly posted on Reddit. So thought maybe before we got into a bit of Q&A we could do a bit of a travel around tunes. So with Dean and me. And we can look at some of the new areas if I can enable PAX. Oh look, there's a little ambient animal here, a rabbit or something. So Cherno here, we've got these new areas. I'll just zoom in there so that everyone really can see where we are and tell me how little work we've done. So this is Cherno's, and this is the new areas. I've set the view distance reasonably low for this. So I'm not getting quite, why is that? There we go. So this is some of the new areas that we're working on. These buildings aren't enterable yet, but that's our current number one priority other than for art other than AI pathing. So you can see at the moment there's only the few buildings, the few rooms that are enterable, but the idea is that we're actually going to gut this building completely, have like broken windows and have it more like it's been completely abandoned. So I think this is really going to be a very dangerous area to come, but potentially quite productive because you'll need to actually search through all the buildings and look for stuff. So there's that area. Where else do you reckon we go from there?
There's also the swamps.
The swamps. We showed these in the dev blog, if I can find where they are. Have we got the thing in? You know, the big thing. So a lot of work's being done on the coastline to try and
make it more plausible.
Yeah, make it more plausible. Put a lot more areas in there for people to actually travel around and do stuff. Actually, one thing I can talk about. One thing our sound designers have been working on is an ambient sound map that goes down to sort of metre by metre squares, so that we can have a much more enriched and sort of dynamic ambient sounds. So that, it can be actually edited on a metre by metre basis. So at the moment it's sort of, I think it was 100 kilometre squares, the ambient sounds can be set. Yeah, where else? Anyone want to call out any areas they want to kind of look at?
Utes in?
What was that?
Is Utes in?
Utes, okay. We haven't done much with Utes, and actually we're still debating whether we include it. We actually want to do a new island that has, we may as well say it. I think I said it yesterday, a prison island. So we're sort of debating whether we want to keep this. I mean, it's there. So I'll zoom back over to the coast. And that's it there. I should change the view distance. Probably not 10,000. Let's go. Oh, that's object view distance. Hold, please. Your call is important. Go with 6,000. So our view distance in that is actually set server side now. So it's quite cool having fiddling around. Whoops, I exited the camera. Let's go back. It's quite cool being able to fiddle with a lot of the settings. So the server owners are going to be able to, change the view distance and stuff like that, depending on the settings of their server and stuff like that. Personally, I like to have the view distance down and the object view distance up, so that way you kind of see the objects fade into the haze.
Is he Northeast Airfield?
Say again, Northeast Airfield? Yeah. Sure. I think there's some stuff here. Oh, there's some Northeast. I was in the army. This is New Zealand. You don't really need to know your east from west. Yeah, so Senji, our cool little Russian environment designer, he's been doing a lot of work, and he's really good at doing these little bases and stuff. I don't think I've showed this base yet. So he's putting a lot of work. We don't have the loot all spawning in this stuff yet, but all this stuff has the potential to spawn loot. So there'll be a lot more Death, Murna, and general shenanigans at this. Northeast here.
Yeah, that's the one.
Whether we've done anything up here. So one thing that I really like is the changes with the simul weather. Unfortunately, I've got it as a nice day now. But the simul weather we think has made a really big difference to how the sky looks. Unfortunately, I don't have Armor 2 installed here at the moment, so I can't show a comparison of that. Yeah. I'm really tempted to knock into a Q&A because we're kind of here. We'll keep this open so we can, if we need to show something that people have questions, we can show that. So I don't know whether, we've got anyone ready for questions?
Hello?
Hello?
Hi, do you have any plans to make zombified animals?
Zombified animals. We're having a real problem with animals at the moment, so we have to reanimate them. Reanimated animals. So we actually have to, we've got a deer. I wonder is a deer even animal? I could actually almost put them in. I won't spawn them in because I'll get accused of spawning stuff into my home game. So,
The other side to it as well is we want to look at the plausibility. So Dean's brother is one of New Zealand's leading virologists, specialising in influenza. So he's written us a huge design document saying, designing our virus so we can make it plausible, so, whether animals are even possible to plausibly fit within that.
Mr. Tech Guy, can you blur that for a moment? Can you go to the PAX thing for a minute and I'll do some secret squirrel stuff and we'll bring that up.
So if you were a virologist on staff, does that mean you have plans to have a plot on how the infection became?
Yeah, what I'll do is, this is a first time, I'm just going to find the document. It's got confidential.
Confidential New Zealand documents.
I'm not sure I actually have it on here.
So we have discussed as a long-term goal, we'd like to have something that you could look into. You can look into the virus as just something you can do in your own time. But that's a long-term goal and something that we're not going to look at until much later in the year.
Keep going, man. Keep going. I'm still looking.
They
haven't noticed yet.
I heard that there was a kind of tournament where some zones were endangered, and if you're in them, you die.
Tournament?
Yeah, some sort of a match where guys would join a server and try to survive, and then certain zones would be set to dangers, and you couldn't go in them when you died.
Survivor
Did I
games.
mishear that?
As I understand it, you're describing Survivor games. So the way the Survivor games worked was that everybody would start in one area, and as time progressed, they'd have to move from those areas. And if they were still in those areas, they'd be killed by the Survivor game staff. As I understand it, we've got one of the cameramen for the Survivor games here. Wycombe, if you'd like to raise your hand.
Yes. How's it going?
So,
Also a commentator.
I think, is it open applications to that?
Yeah, we already just did the first qualifier acceptance. Twitch TV picked up the Survivor games, so there will be one every 3 months. We just did the first qualifiers. There will be 3 qualifiers with eliminations, and then those people will move on to the main game.
So for those people that couldn't hear Wycombe, apparently Twitch TV have picked up on it, so it'll be once every 3 months with open qualifiers.
Yeah, go to survivorgames.com. You can put your application in. And remember, we need streamers, people who can stream it, put detailed information. Don't be like, I want to shoot the people, period, and then we're not going to accept you. So be detailed, be nice.
So apply and include as much detail as you can about yourself. Does anybody else have any more questions? If you want to go to one of the microphones.
This one, please. As a server owner, can you do things like lockdowns in first person only?
Sorry, can you just repeat the question?
Can server owners make first person only servers? Or is that lockdowns where you can anyone, they're all third person only?
Yes, I saw there was a big discussion on Reddit last night after the panel about about first person, and I'm sure everybody here knows that first person has been something that's been quite hotly discussed, and I definitely play generally in first person. But I can see why if someone's streaming it, they want to play in third person, particularly now with the clothing system, because you sort of want to show it off. It's like when I played Skyrim, I used to play it quite a lot in third person because I wanted to see all the stuff that my character had. So I was really tempted early on in development to disable the first person. So we're probably going to adopt the same approach that we did with the mod, where we'll have the capability to have first and third person, and we're going to allow the server owners the ability to change between them. I just think that there's some really compelling arguments on both sides, and I think that removing it, because there's compelling arguments on both sides, I think removing it at this time is not a good idea. I think there's a really compelling reason for it being there, and I can also see the other side of it as well. So I think given that, it's a bad idea to remove it. So yes.
I've noticed there's been a lot of attention to given the South and the East Coast and the islands also being added. Are we going to see any new additions to the mountains to the north?
Yeah. So what we've actually done is we're purchasing new satellite data for the northern, for the whole map. So we're redoing all the base texture data, and so that's going to be a lot more higher fidelity. So it means that, like you saw the distance visuals. They'll look a lot better, assuming you've got a reasonable computer. What that also means is that we can actually redo all those northern areas of the map. So Ivan Bujka, one of the guys who was trapped in Greece, he's actually proposed that in the northern area, because Chernos is actually based on a real area in the Czech Republic, so he's suggested we expand into that area a little bit more so that we actually have that.
We've also had an artist that's been creating some assets to be using in the woods, like troughs and animal feeding posts, so it kind of adds more detail, into somewhere where really it'd be a bit sparse.
Yeah, so because there's actually a lot of, like you say, there's a lot of wasted space up in that northern area, so that's probably one of the bigger areas that we're expanding to. But I think that's probably going to take another month before we'll see that, so we'll probably cover that in a GF blog. We'll do a little expose. So be ready for it when people play it. Hopefully Ivan doesn't get angry at me for saying that, because I don't actually know how long it's going to take.
Does anyone else have any more questions? Ask us absolutely anything.
Well, almost.
Not sure how much you guys get to play your own game yourselves, but everybody always has awesome stories about DayZ. That's one of the best part of the games. And I was wondering maybe if you guys had any stories of your own from playing your own game.
Yeah, so I've been preparing for the GDC presentation I'm doing next week. So I was actually just going through some before I got Matt to troll out. Early in the mod, we made a collection of not only other people's stories, but our stories as well. And mine was, I've told this a few times, so I apologise for those who've heard it, but basically, when I was, I used to go into the server quite a lot, and we had a lot of people who were, running around, and I used to follow them, and I was in Cherno, and I saw these guys running around, and they were all going to the church in Cherno because they thought it was safe, which is the worst thing to do at all. And so I went to them and I said, look, you guys need to get away, we need to get you some gear, so we're going to go to the southern airfield. And on our way there, it was night, so quite a few of them, just before dawn, so quite a few of them got killed. We finally made it to the airfield, and it was just starting to get light. And we saw this guy in the distance. And these guys were new players. They were like, oh wow, look, there's a guy there. And this was before direct chat was fixed. And so...
Their hearts haven't been hardened yet, so they just won't shoot on the side if they get race screen and stuff.
Say again?
I said their hearts haven't been hardened yet from the game, so they...
Exactly, yeah. And so I wrote out on the chat, I said, are you friendly, are you friendly? And there was no reply, and he started legging it up behind into the hills. And I don't know what came over me. I think I fired a couple of warning shots. I figured, okay, I'll fire warning shots. Because, these were new guys, I wanted to protect them. And I don't know what came over me. It's just, whether it was curiosity.
It's
never actually... Yeah, and I kept firing. And then all of a sudden, I saw this such and such is killed. And I'll never remember what the guy said through direct chat. It's like the way he said it as well, just like, made me feel like the Stone Cold Killer. He's like, you killed him. And actually, I felt really bad about it. And it's kind of ridiculous. And it's not something that was intended as a design. Like, it wasn't something we sat down and said, we're going to manufacture this. It's why preparing the GDC presentation has been really hard, because it's, why is DayZ a success and how did we design it to be like that? Because a lot of this stuff, some of it was kind of an accident, and that definitely wasn't something that I thought I would experience. I felt genuinely bad. I think I told you, I think I told a whole bunch of other people about it. It was on a weekend, and I went to sleep. I think I stopped playing after that, and I went to sleep. I was still thinking about it the next day. I thought, oh my God, the guy, he might have been playing for hours. And I shot him for no reason at all. So I think it really had a big impact on me. I don't know if you've got a story.
I think possibly one of my favourite ones was I was actually kidnapped. So one of the features of our game that is, if you go into a hospital and then log out and log back in, the hospital glass seals you in, and there's no way for you to escape unless somebody else comes in and shoots the glass. So I was asking some friends and post on the forums, can somebody come and help me? Some people did, in a car, and they're like, get in the car. So I run into the car and dive in with them, and they're like, right, you're ours now. Put all your stuff in the inventory in the car, or we'll kill you. You're ours. So I then decided to post on Twitter. I was like, I've been kidnapped. Can somebody else come and help me? And then this entire team then assembled a rescue force. Well, they tried to come after me, and in the ensuing combat, one of them accidentally killed me. It was just this, I've been captured and was being driven around in a car for like half an hour by some randoms that I didn't really know. Yeah, so it's little things like that, these people had reacted to my actions within game, and then had come to, we're going to have some fun here. It's all those small stories that really make DayZ why I think it's so good personally.
Awesome.
Hi. So when you got rid of starting with a gun, I was kind of terrified, but it kind of worked out all right for me. Do you think you might ever go back to spawning originally with a really low powered weapon instead of just...
Yeah, well, you're going to be spawning with your fists, so you can get all rocky with that. It was a good point. That was actually a really tough time. Like, DayZ had just started to get quite big, and that was always the intention, was to remove the weapons. So I'd already kind of committed to it, and then DayZ started to get really big, and we're like, oh no, we're going to be removing the weapon, it's just going to be crazy, and people are going to be upset. So I was kind of surprised actually how well people took it.
We did speak about it at the time. It was like, it's a big risk, people might hate it, and then Dean was like, well, it'd be cool. And hopefully it can foster some of the relationships where people don't just kill each other, and you've not got people killing other people for Makarov mags and things like that.
I think the growth of melee, like if you look at the real world, like, we look around for weapons that we could use now if we all wanted to beat ourselves in this. I wonder if the guy here was the bat guy. Hopefully he's not. But, so I think the growth of melee items might alleviate that a little bit. We'd also talked about, because it had been suggested that we look at doing some kind of like classes where you could spawn as a police officer, like there's some kind of backstory. But I think that we just felt like it's too dangerous. And as I've been documenting like what our design pillars are, one of them is kind of, I call it are there Star Trek fans here?
Woo!
There's a few Star Trek fans that seem to be quite like. Anybody else? Yeah, there's some other Star Trek fans. I'm not a big Star Trek fan, but I like some of the stuff that comes behind it. And one of the things they have is they call it the Prime Directive, right? So DayZ, our development Prime Directive, is that we don't want to tell the players how they should play the game. And so, we like by letting people come in as classes and that, it feels like we're kind of putting a box around it. Yeah, there was a really good post on the forums by Dr. Wasteland about this, about why like DayZ having freedom and that. So I guess I can kind of see what you're saying, how it's a real barrier, particularly for new players, not having a weapon and stuff like that. So I'm sort of hoping that having fists and stuff